Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana, where we study a spiritual classic that may seem to have no bearing on our lives whatsoever because it was written centuries ago, and for many of you listening, probably in a vastly different culture than you have grown up in. But it is still exceptionally applicable across time, across place, and that's one of the reasons it's still one of the most read books today, millennia after its composition. Today is a serious day here where I am recording this in the United States of America, being the anniversary of September 11th. And as we write dates here in this country, 9/11, which, that date was chosen because that's the emergency number here throughout the states. If you're in danger, if you're in trouble, if there's a threat, call 911. But also, I was reflecting today that 911 is also what we call when we really need help. And this was a big call for help from peoples in the world. One of the things the Gita talks about is external conflict and war, but it really reflects upon our internal conflict. And the idea that external conflict starts within and from falsity. Because if you look at many spiritual classics across many traditions, if we focus in yoga, like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, your true self is just this place of calm and peace and acceptance and witnessing. Sometimes it's called Satchidananda, truth, knowledge, and bliss. In the Bhagavad Gita, even, Arjuna is a warrior, and his best friend Krishna has explicitly said he will not fight in the war. Arjuna represents our ego, our limited selves. Dhritarashtra also represents our ego, but in a different way. We can talk about that in depth. But Arjuna represents kind of the conditioned self. He's been brought up as a prince with certain expectations. He's trained heavily, and his training has produced certain automatic reactions within him at a physical and mental and emotional level. Krishna is Arjuna's cousin, and Krishna represents the true self. And one of the things Krishna says is, I will be by your side in the battle, but I will not fight. The true self doesn't fight. It can appear to instigate actions, but it's content. One of the big differences between Krishna and Arjuna is Krishna's content with who he is at all levels, including the deepest level. So 911 can be seen as a call for help. How do we resolve these conflicts? Because the outer conflicts and suffering are mirroring our inner conflicts and suffering. And we truly do want peace because that's our nature. And we can see this reflected when in my grandparents' or great-grandparents' time, what we now call the First World War and what was then called the Great War, or the war to end all wars, took place. And there was just this hope that by a massive conflict, the reason for conflict could be ended. And we see how that worked. It didn't. We had a Second World War. We've had many world wars. Many not world wars since then. And there are conflicts everywhere. Every continent is having bloody conflicts. Why? And the Gita says, if we want the peace, because many of us talk about war must stop, that we must have peace. But are we living that in our daily lives? Because the little things that we do in our daily lives contribute to the life of everybody in the world. So today I'm dedicating the practice to everyone who feels helplessly caught in cycles of violence, whether it's inside or outside. And I will admit that includes me. And in both aspects. Outside, I feel helplessly caught in these patterns of conflict and fighting and division. In our country, there was a presidential candidate debate last night, and even though we're supposed to be a union, there's such divisiveness amongst people who just get angry and lash out against someone who's voting for the other candidate, which I don't know that that's really the ultimate idea of a functional democracy. How can we start creating peace on all levels? And today I invite you to do that. And also, before I forget, you know, dialogue is so important. And I would like to thank the person yesterday who spoke with me directly about what I said about disability versus differently abled. And this person is intimately familiar with disability, works with people in that field, and said to me, disability is not a dirty word. And it was interesting to watch my own need for defensiveness come up and to explain myself. And then it was, this is a perfect valid, this is an educated viewpoint. And I accept that. And I'm thankful that someone expressed a viewpoint, and it expands me. Can we look at when somebody expresses a different viewpoint as an opportunity for expansion instead of defensiveness? Let's explore. Today, I'll encourage you, if you'd like, there's a mudra of peace, kapota. Let me get in a better position. It's the mudra of the dove, the mudra of peace. Starts like Anjali, palms together, prayer position, and then knuckles bend out. Ah, the sun. The sun and I are in something of conflict today. There we go. And there's a little space in here, a little space where we can hold the idea of our true selves, our true nature, that peace at our core. So, shall we? Balance pose. You can do this mudra if you'd like. Switch. I'll move my chair over here as we come back for a contemplation. I'm sitting in a chair. This is an interesting source of internal conflict for me. Yoga instructors should be sitting cross-legged on the ground, no problem. My knee, however, is in conflict with that idea, so I'm making peace with it and with my expectations. I encourage you, as we do our usual 5-minute contemplation, to really reflect on the areas within you that are in conflict. It can be easy during meditative practice. The idea of I'm going to sit, my mind will calm and be steady and be quiet, and thought comes up. And then what do we do to ourselves? Do we go, there's a thought? Or do we go, gosh darn it, I'm no good at meditating. What is wrong with me? what kind of internal conflicts arise over our expectations of ourselves. So today I'm just inviting you to sit, to be aware of any sense of conflict that you have within or that spills over into the external world around you, and maybe even to have a thought or two about how you can start bringing peace to that particular situation. Peace starts with us. And 5 minutes of contemplation on peace begins now. Kapota. Welcome back from our contemplation time. I wonder how that went for you today. Your experiences enhance my understanding. Feel free to share. And if you're looking for longer ways to explore this concept, we have our classes starting up, and there's going to be a bi weekly class on yoga and the Bhagavad Gita that specifically examines interpersonal conflict. So you're most welcome to join. The link is below. And you're most welcome to keep joining these classes for the rest of the year. Until we meet again, may you know peace. Until then.